In this lesson, we will create the disc brake for the car as well as the caliper and just kind of finish up the wheel. So let's go ahead and start just by grabbing a primitive cylinder to begin with. Go to Create, Cylinder, and I'll just drag this out from the center. And I'll just kind of drag it out till it's kind of right in there. And I'll pull this over from the perspective view, get it into the right spot there. I can go ahead and just kind of scale this down a little bit if I want to. Okay. And I want to go in and make sure that my height is a negative amount. I want to make sure that's a positive amount so that all of my scaling and everything works. Go ahead and move that over. And this is how I have my divisions. I've got 12 sides, got 3 cap segments. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a couple of height segments as well. And let's give one more cap segment here. Maybe a couple more. Okay, and that way we don't have to go in and add a lot of resolution. There's a lot that are already there. Let's go ahead and now convert this to an editable poly. We'll select these 2 edges first, because we're trying to add some resolution for this to be nice and hard when we smooth it out. We want the edges to still be sharp. So go to Selection, Loop, and let's go ahead and scale that out. And I'm going to go to a View, Reference, and switch to Vertex Selection. You go ahead and move those out. And the next thing that I'm going to do is select this loop right in here, and we'll go ahead and scale that as well. So that gives us our sharpness around this corner. Let's go ahead and select these polygons right in here, and this we can kind of bring out an extruded portion of the brake there. So we'll go ahead and under Edit Polygons, we go to Inset. We'll just inset it a very small amount. Okay, we'll extrude it a very small amount to begin with. Apply that. That gets extruded out a little bit more, and one more, and pull that back in. Okay, now we'll push this back inside a little bit more. This whole thing rather, not just the faces. Go ahead and pull that back in. Alright, and now we can, if we smooth this, you'll be able to see that it's kind of nice and sharp there. The next thing we want to do is add the caliper to this. And looking at this, you can see how soft that is at the front. And that's just because we didn't inset that. So I'm going to go ahead and just inset that real quickly. And so now that should be nice and sharp. Alright. There we go. So that's nice and sharp. Now let's go ahead and add a kind of a caliper. To do this, I'm just going to use a box. So I'll drag out a box primitive. Kind of drag it across the top here. And let's go ahead and under Modify, we'll go ahead and add kind of a positive height to that. And let's go ahead and drag this over. And something like that. Create a little bit of thickness there. Okay. Pull that in. And let's go ahead and change our width and height so that it encompasses that entire thing. Now I've got 4 segments basically here. That should be fine. Go ahead and convert this into an editable poly, and then we'll go ahead and select our vertices on either side here. Don't accidentally select my view cube. That would help. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just select both of these, pull this down, pull this over. Now I'm going to select basically all of these polygons just on the front of this. Okay, so I'll select all of these. Let's do an inset, just a small inset so it's nice and sharp there. Okay, and let's now just take both of these guys, basically these faces here. Let's go ahead and inset those and extrude those out just a little bit, not anything too big. Very tiny amount. Go ahead and apply that. Extrude them out a little more. Apply, and a kind of a smaller extrude there. OK, and do another inset. And now what we get when we smooth this is, let's go ahead and actually grab this edge first. select that loop and move it forward, and we can use that as some resolution up here on the corner. And now what we get here is something like that, and we can add some sharpness on the back end as well. Okay, just by again either selecting those faces and extruding them, or selecting these edges, going to ring, and adding that resolution there, and then go ahead and just slide it all the way to the back. So something just like that. It doesn't have to be just like that. Just something similar to that to kind of get across the idea. Now I'm going to put this kind of right in the middle and modify the shape slightly. Okay, so you can just put a bend on this if you want, or you can come in and actually modify this shape. Okay, so you get something like that. You can smooth it if you wanted to. You can see how that's kind of smooth. Now if we want to rotate this around to the back rather than rotating it around its own axis, we can again use our working pivot. So we can edit the working pivot. That's where it is right now. So now we can use this and actually just rotate this around. We'll just kind of stick it back here. Okay. And we end up with something like that. If you want to pull the axle out, you can do that as well from the inside here. We could take these polygons right in here, and we can just select all of these polygons and just extrude those out as our axle if you want to, and just kind of penetrate it into the belly of the car there. So just make sure that that's all we've got. I'm going to turn off the working pivot. Okay, I don't want to use that anymore. Okay, and we can go ahead and just go back to our polygon selection, drag these out. Sorry, we don't want to drag those out. We want to actually extrude them rather. So we'll go ahead and extrude, apply, and then just go ahead and extrude those straight into the car. Say OK to that, and then we can actually get rid of those polygons. Okay, one other thing that you might want to do, that's kind of up to you, is to kind of scale up these bolt holes. If these are a little bit small for you, you can just come in, grab those, and scale them up. You just have to be aware that that's going to be scaling them out as well, so you can go ahead and just kind of move those back in. If you want to make those a little bit bigger, it's up to you. Alright, so now that we've got the wheel completed, let's go ahead and in the next lesson finish things up by building the rear view mirror and then doing some touch-ups and just finishing out the modeling of the vehicle before we move on to the materials. So we'll go ahead and do that next.